I've been practicing as an acupuncturist and a Chinese herbalist for 14 years, and I'm so amazed all the time at how much wisdom is in this system of medicine. Because even though we're modern, we have these cool phones and we have all these, we can drive these cars, we can fly around the world, we're still human beings, and we still have the same needs. We have a need for love, for connection. We have a need for physical comfort and safety. We have a need for nutrition and exercise. Those things don't change. We haven't evolved into robots yet, thank God, right? So this system is just so practical, and it just always applies to our health and our state of well-being. So just to go into, I guess, the season of spring, again, I mentioned is governed by the element of wood. So within this cycle of the elements, we also go through the seasons. So in winter, California winter is a little confusing to me because it's kind of in summer, but in general, right, you have a winter where you're hibernating. So there's snow on the ground, the leaves have fallen, we're going inside, there's less light. So we're going inside to kind of cultivate and generate something. So then we can feel that the contrast of spring is like really springing forward, opening, blossoming, right? All of those seeds that are underground in winter are sprouting. So our energy, our chi, is very much the same in the body. So we might find that we feel more active, or, oh, I got to get out and move now. It's so beautiful outside. So nature reflects this upward moving energy, which we would call the yang chi. So winter is a very yin time, meaning just very inward focused, much more on the depths of our experience. And then spring tends to be a more active, more social, more outer time. Because the organs that are most active in spring are the liver and gallbladder, it's also a really good time to detox. So we've come out of winter, maybe eating heavier foods or doing other things to keep ourselves protected from the elements. So spring, we kind of want to lighten up, right? We want to maybe shed the winter weight, or get outside more if we've been inside. And so the liver is going to be very much involved with detoxification. The liver is one of the most incredible organs. In a Western sense, it has over 500 functions in the body. 500 functions. This is a crucial organ. And so I just have this little chart here. This is about all of the organs, but so you can see right here, this is the liver organ. It's giant, right? So if you can all just put your hand on your right side, rib cage, from about the midline or a little over to the left, all the way around through your whole body. This whole area under the rib cage is your liver. It's protected by the rib cage, but it's a huge organ, very capable of regeneration. So I've read studies that even if there's only 25% remaining function in the liver, it can regenerate to nearly 100%. That's not to say the liver itself, if parts of it have been removed, but that's incredible, right? So just like the salamanders, they grow a new leg or a new tail. We can't quite grow a new liver, but we can regain the function. So liver is a crucial part of our health and well-being. The daily cycles that we go through are also governed by organs. So the liver time is 1 to 3 in the morning. Gallbladder time is 11 to 1. So liver is the yin organ, gallbladder is the yang organ. So in the system of the elements, each element contains at least 2 organs that work together. So for activity and for nourishment. Liver is a unique organ in that sense because it's considered a yin organ, meaning that it holds essence. So liver is said to store the blood. So it stores this nutritive essence that's needed for other processes. Whereas gallbladder is a hollow sac, right? It holds the bile. And then when we eat fats, that bile is excreted and then helps us to break down fat. So there's yin organs and yang organs. So the different times of the day, those organs are going to be more active. So if you've ever stayed up past 1 o'clock in the morning, you might feel like, woo, I got a second wind. Okay, now I'm going to stay up till 4 or 5, you know. It's kind of the typical like bar scene thing, you know. People get out and then they're like, whoa, okay, what are we going to do now? And then they go eat and do all these things. So that's the time the liver really wants to be detoxifying. So we get this extra wave of energy in the body so that we can complete phase 2 detoxification. There's actually 2 parts of our breakdown of chemicals and other things in the body. Phase 1, we actually end up creating a little bit more toxicity as those particles are digested, and then phase 2 will complete and eliminate that toxicity. So similar to Ayurveda, Chinese medicine would recommend being asleep, being resting by 11 o'clock, maybe 10:30, just so that your body has time to process all of that information from the day, the food, all of those different things. So giving yourself a couple hours before you go to bed to eat dinner, you know, so that your body isn't just inundated by the food while it's trying to clean you out. Many things that the body experiences because of the liver. Some of those are hormone release. You know, for women, liver is going to govern the smoothness of the menstrual cycle. So if there's a lot of cramping or pain or PMS, those sort of things, we want to look at the liver organ to smooth that out. So to regulate a cycle or to support the pain-free experience. The liver is also going to generate our energy, basically, in the form of glycogen. And so it's really important to have a smooth flowing response there in the liver so that we're getting as much energy as we can from the food that we're eating. So it's considered kind of a part of digestion, right? All the organs here are part of digestion. We're also going to find that our blood clotting information is coming from the liver. So if there's issues with bruising or blood clotting issues, that's usually going to relate to the liver. There's so much about this.
Did you say breathing and blood clotting is somehow related? Did you say breathing?
Bruising.
Bruising.
Bruising, yeah. So if someone is bruising easily, we look at the liver. So not only does each organ system have an element, but as I mentioned, there is a color, a sound, a smell, an emotion, a part of the body that's governed. And this is on the black and white handout. So you can take that one with you later and reference it. But the liver is said to open to the eyes. So the health of our eyes is going to be affected by the health of the liver organ, but also the meridian. So I guess something I should keep in just mention here is with acupuncture, with Chinese medicine, we have flows of energy, we have meridians, and then we also have the organ. Sometimes, you know, if you were to see a practitioner and say, oh, your liver's out of balance, it doesn't necessarily mean the liver itself, or the way a Western practitioner would translate that, oh, your liver enzymes are high. Not necessarily, because they're recognizing both a physical organ and an energetic component. So the liver chi is going to be slightly different than the liver organ. So liver opening to the eyes means that metaphorically, the liver governs our sense of vision. So literally our eyes, how well we see, in particular the iris. So all of the organs in the body are reflected in the eyes. If you've ever seen an iridologist, that's kind of fun. They can diagnose everything just by looking at your eyes. So I really think it's interesting that the eyes are said to be the windows of the soul as well, because the Chinese saw this relationship between the organ and the eyes as being that place of vision, as in, what do I see from my life? How am I able to plan and to connect to my life? Literally, it's like the general, right? The general of an army, which is seeing the whole plan. And then you have the gallbladder to help execute the plan. So liver has a big job in the body in that sense as well. It's literally in charge of planning. So all of these processes that happen without us knowing, all of the blood clotting, the hormone release, all of these different things, we don't have to go, oh, am I clotting? Oh, I think it's time to clot now. That would be a really big disaster, right? Because of our level of awareness. We want to, ideally we're aware enough to connect in some ways, but we need that pre-planning to make sure that all of these body functions are executed well. So the liver is really amazing in that way. And if you've ever, most of us have had some sort of job experience or some experience working on a project, and you really want to have a plan not only for the immediate, but maybe for the long term as well. We want to look ahead. Okay, well, how is this going to unfold? So liver is not only about immediate planning, but it's about looking into the future. So how is this all going to connect and unfold? So, if we have an imbalance in the liver, it might be hard to make plans. Like, gosh, I just can't figure out what to do. I can't see. Sometimes I have clients come in and they just say, I just can't see what's next. I feel so clouded or just so confused about what to do with my life or what to do with my job or my family. And this morning we were just doing a little liver and gallbladder massage, which we'll do again for all of you that were in class. But I mentioned that the last point on the liver channel is here in the front of the rib cage. I do have a small chart of the meridians if you want to look. But each of these points in the body, there's over 400 acupuncture points that relate to these different channels, and each one has a name. And each name is very poetic, and it speaks to the function of that point. They're like little vortexes. Here at Sunburst, we talk about vortexes and chakras and energy flowing. Well, these acupuncture meridians are very similar. The yogis call them nadis, the acupuncturists call them channels and meridians. So this point here is called Chi Men, and Chi Men literally means gate of hope. So it's considered a source point, so it's right in front of the organ itself. We call it a front move point. But it speaks to this idea that if I'm stuck, if I'm stagnant, if I can't see the forest through the trees, then I'm probably going to feel a little bit depressed, or I'm going to feel a little stagnant, or kind of slumped, like, oh man, I just can't figure it out. It gets to be overwhelming. So just consider this gate of hope point. It's right here with you. If you're struggling, you can just tap on it, massage it. There's a lot of good self-work we can do with these acupuncture points. So this idea of vision, and it can be frustrating, right, if we don't know where we're going or we don't understand what the next step is. So that speaks to the emotion of the liver when it's out of balance is considered to be anger or frustration. Emotion, you could translate as energy in motion. So emotion is meant to move. It's not meant to stay stuck in the body. So I like to use the example of like an animal. If they're injured, or if a dog gets hit by a car, if it's not too bad, you'll see them get up. What do? They shake, and then they keep going. And I always notice this as humans when we experience something difficult or a trauma. Most of us do this, right? We close in, we stop moving. So this really reflects the function and the nature of the liver to be resilient, right? So we can go into either rigidity or resiliency. So this emotion of anger, when we're out of balance, is gonna make us feel stuck or trapped. And sometimes we'll experience tension along the meridian. We'll experience tension in the tendons. So that kind of leads me to some of the other places that are governed by the liver. So it opens to the eyes, but it also governs our tendons and ligaments. Now, if we go back to this element of wood, we can see that there's different kinds of wood in nature, right? We have a staunch oak tree. When it's really windy, what happens to the oak branch? Snap. Breaks off. we look at something like bamboo, very resilient, just as strong, but when the wind blows, the bamboo goes sideways, just keeps growing, the wind stops blowing. So the Chinese revere bamboo for many reasons, but partly because of that metaphor, so that we can take this idea of flexibility into the element of wood, into the movement of the liver energy itself. So working with our emotions, working with our mind in that way, when we can learn to become more flexible in our thinking, because rigid thinking can reflect in a rigid feeling throughout the body. So all of these things are multi-level, right? We're multi-dimensional. So the tendons and ligaments, also the nails. The nails are an extension of the liver energy. So rigidity in the nails, like little holes or breaking of the nails can reflect the health of the liver. And typically we'll see those changes start with the toes first and then manifest in fingers. So nails, another one to look out for. So many things here. Sure, have you had anything? Pitted or ridged. Okay, so then just following the pathway of the meridian itself, it starts in between the big toe and the second toe, and then it comes up the feet right to the inner part of the shin, the inner part of the knee, up through the thighs to the groin. So it moves around with the genitals are said to be governed by the liver channel. So any kind of swelling, pain, or issues there can relate to that as well. Can also reflect hormonal changes because that's in that same area of the pelvis. So the meridian is going to move from the groin up into the torso, right here to the gate of hope. So we're going to see some digestive pieces here too. If the liver is really stagnant or stuck or stressed, so I guess I'll just use an analogy first. So you just, I don't know, something stressful just happened, or you just, had an argument with somebody and you're really feeling it. You all know what that feels like, right? You kind of feel some heat, you feel some anxiousness, you might feel a knot in your stomach. We can manifest it in all different ways, tension in the neck and shoulders. And then we go, oh yeah, but it's lunchtime. So I'm really upset and I'm trying to eat my lunch. Well, how do you think the digestive system responds? Kind of like, oh gosh, that was really hard, right? So we might feel bloated or we might feel pain in our digestive system after that. And that's partly because in this, so we talked about the generating cycle here, there's other ways that these elements and these organs interact. So we would say that in that case, the wood element was too strong, was very agitated. It overacts on the earth element. So earth represents spleen and stomach, so the digestive system. So the liver is a big organ, and it can be a big bully sometimes if it's upset. So energy is energy. It has to go somewhere. In every part of nature, we're looking for homeostasis. So we're always trying to find balance. So if there's too much here, and then say, maybe I don't have the strongest digestive system, it's naturally going to go over, and as one of my Chinese teachers used to say, kick the spleen. So the liver kicks the spleen, and then I feel bloated, and I feel, So really, a nice practice to try to be calm when we eat. Try not to eat when you're upset, because it's really going to impact the digestive system. So we can see not only bloating, but sometimes reflux. The flavor of the liver organ is sour. So sour foods can tonify and help to balance the organ. But we also see that the bile is going to be sour. So if any of you have ever experienced reflux, it's kind of like sour, And so it's a combination of the stomach, but the Chinese would also say it relates to liver and gallbladder. So we talked about the color, green, the emotion, anger. The sound of liver is shouting. So you can kind of hear that in nature almost sometimes, and the green is so loud, it's just like, rah, hello, I'm here. But we can also see that more when the organ's out of balance. So if you know, if I'm feeling stuck and tired and, you know, my stomach hurts, I might end up literally shouting at someone or, you know, being kind of loud and upset. I like to use the analogy of the ultimate liver out of balance is like the big angry guy with the red face, the red eyes, who's like, rah, 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 just barking at everyone, right? You could say, oh, he has liver fire issues or liver yang rising issues. So each organ is going to be affected by all of the elements, but in particular, liver is going to be affected by wind and heat. You know, the wind blowing outside, as we talked about, it's helping to bring the seeds around into nature so that things can grow. But too much wind, as we find, tends to irritate our human bodies, especially if we don't have a strong immune system. So we're in the season now of allergies, right? Everyone says, oh, my allergies, all these pollens are blowing around. So, you know, we have this immune system in place to protect us. Literally, in Chinese medicine, we talk about it being a wind screen. So they actually had an energetic anatomy for this immune system, which starts at the back of the head, those points that we massaged in class this morning. And then they say that it literally comes over the head and shields the face up to the upper part of the limb. So we have this, like, if we could only see all of this stuff, right? And that's where I think the Chinese medicine developed from, is Qigong masters that could actually see the energy, they can see it moving. So the jade windscreen is there to protect us. So if that's not as strong, then the wind will enter through what they would say is the wind gates in the back of the head. And I love the practicality, because we've all had grandmothers or people in our lives and say, wear your scarf, it's windy outside, protect your neck, right? And you just think, oh gosh, you know. But there's a lot of wisdom to that, you know, that's passed down. Protect those vital places where we tend to be a little bit more vulnerable. I think it's the same for animals, right? It's a more vulnerable place at the back of the head. So wind and heat, you know, heat can be generated from too much spicy food. You know, a little bit of spicy food is going to help move the liver qi, but too much is just going to create an excess of heat at the body. So depending on the constitution of the person, spicy food may be medicinal or it may be an irritant. Just like heat does in nature, the energy of the heat rises, right? So we might get more irritation. If you're having allergies and there's more yellow mucus, red eyes, sore throat, that's a manifestation of heat within the body. Heat will tend to dry up fluids, so you get then like sticky, you know, more dense mucus, or maybe it's even turning brown or green. It's like a very extreme heat sign in the body. So we can balance that by doing cooling practices, by eating cooling foods, by detoxifying. And essentially heat correlates to inflammation. So, I mean, you can literally sometimes see on a joint, if it's red, it's swollen, yeah, we'd say, okay, there's inflammation or heat in the body. So these are two things that we want to balance. In the very extreme, wind can lead to stroke. So you see that it affects one side of the body. So liver gallbladder presentations tend to be one-sided. So if we find like, gosh, you know, everything's always going on my right side or my left side, or I always get that headache and it's just like right there on my left temple. What is that about? So that's more of a gallbladder imbalance. So I'll talk about the gallbladder a little bit soon, but because this is a lot of information, I'm just going to have everybody stand up. I think they say that during a lecture we really only are paying attention for about 20 minutes. So
that's what TED Talks say.
Yeah. Right. So let's just stand up and just. I'm going to just show you where that meridian is. We're going to do a little qigong pat just to wake the body. Just soften the knees, reach down towards the feet. I know we're all wearing shoes, but just tap the inside of the shins, through the inside of the knees, inside of the thighs, the groin, sides of the belly, right up to that gate of oh. Good. And then take a deep breath. gallbladder channel is a lot longer. Let's just go from the pinky toe, the sides of the legs, all the way up the sides. Buttocks there, you can use your fists on the buttocks. Back, start on the kidney there. And a nice pat on the shoulders. And just go down the arms, up the arms, across the chest. Through the arms. And back up to the shoulders. Sides of the neck, back of the neck, those wind gates. Giving them a little support to stay strong. Sides of the head. Let your jaw relax. Top of the head. These are the smart points. Forehead. Sides of the eyebrows. Right in front of the ears of the jaw. It's a little massage you can do for your liver and your gallbladder channels. Just keep things flowing. Keep yourself alert and awake. If you need to do anything else, feel free to do so. Any other body movements? Okay, and if anybody needs to use the restroom, just take a minute here.
They did not
Digest.